The Imperium does not cross the galaxy because it understands the path ahead. It crosses it because a small number of individuals can see just enough of what lies beyond reality. It has no alternative. The void between its worlds cannot be navigated through distance alone. Ships must enter it. A domain without fixed direction, without stable reference, without consistent outcome. A place that does not behave the same way twice. And yet, ships still arrive, not because the Imperium has mastered the warp, but because it has learned to survive it. Not safely, not precisely, but just enough to continue. The Imperium spans distances that cannot be bridged through conventional travel. Sublight movement is functionally meaningless at this scale. A message would take generations to arrive. A fleet would arrive and too late to matter. And a world cut off from the wider Imperium would not remain part of it for long. Distance is not an obstacle. It is a form of isolation. Without faster-than-light travel, each world becomes its own system, its own authority, its own interpretation of survival. Supply chains collapse. Communication fails. Coordination becomes impossible. And over time, what was once a unified civilization fragments into disconnected remnants. This is not theoretical. It has already happened. The Imperium remembers a time when humanity was isolated from itself. A time when knowledge regressed, when worlds diverged beyond recognition, when entire systems were lost to history. It does not treat that condition as past. It treats it as a constant risk. Some individuals can perceive the warp. These are psychers. Their connection is not learned. It is inherent. A mutation that allows contact with a domain others cannot survive perceiving. Through this connection, they can influence reality, project force, alter perception, or transmit thought. But these abilities are not stable. They are not precise, and they are not fully controlled. This is not power. It is exposure. A psyker does not command the warp in a complete sense. They interact with it, and that interaction always carries risk, because what flows through them is not passive. It is reactive, responsive, and often hostile to containment. This is why the Imperium does not treat psychers as specialists, but as liabilities that can be directed, controlled, or eliminated. Their value is conditional, and their danger is constant. The warp can be studied. It can be described. It can be categorized into patterns and behaviors. The Imperium has constructed doctrines around it, terminology, rituals, methods of interaction. all intended to reduce it into something usable. But these are approximations, not complete explanations, because the warp does not behave in a way that allows full comprehension. Two identical attempts to interact with it may produce different results. A message sent across it may arrive fragmented, altered, or may not arrive at all. A route that once existed may not exist again. This is not a failure of knowledge. It is a property of the medium. The warp is not unpredictable because it is unknown. It is unpredictable because it does not maintain stability. It shifts, it distorts, it reconfigures itself continuously. It does not preserve conditions long enough to be fully modeled. It can be approached. It can be used, but it cannot be reduced to a complete science. The Imperium has learned to use the warp in limited ways. Astropaths transmit information across it, messages carried through a medium that does not preserve clarity. Their function is narrow, controlled and refined through discipline, but it is not mechanical. It is not repeatable in a strict sense. Each astropath develops their own method of interpretation, their own internal structure for shaping and receiving signals. No two transmissions are identical. No two astropaths produce the same result. What they do is not a procedure. It is a practice. A message may arrive as fragments, symbols, or impressions that must be reconstructed. Meaning is not delivered cleanly. It is interpreted. They can send, they can receive, but they cannot navigate. Navigators are not trained into existence. They are born. Their mutation is stable, preserved through bloodlines, refined across generations. Unlike psychers, their abilities are not broadly expressive. They are specific, focused, and directed toward a single purpose. This mutation does not define the earliest stages of human expansion. During the golden age of technology, humanity did not need to depend on navigators as it does now. It could choose to use, albeit less reliable, systems. Machines capable of guiding vessels through the warp, albeit without the refinement of the Navigator Houses. Navigators existed, but they were not yet indispensable. Those systems are gone, lost along with the knowledge required to reproduce them. What remains is a biological solution, a mutation that fits the role once shared with technology, not as an improvement any longer, but as a replacement. The creation of the Navigators Institution navigator's contemporary imperial duty was the Emperor's will before he was ensnared onto the Golden Throne. It is fantastic, catalyst of the Great Crusade. It is strange that the ruinous powers did not hesitate to stretch their hands to the Primarch's very souls, to the Emperor's own sons, where half of them did fall. But I could not say if the equally great asset of the Navigator Houses escaped those fell hands, for someone did have to pilot Horus's heretical fleets. I would say only that the Navigators persist, and that without their warp site, there would be no Imperium at all. Navigators do not calculate their path through the warp. They perceive it through an organ that allows them to interpret what cannot be seen through normal means. The third eye. With it, they do not observe distance. They observe movement within instability. Currents that do not remain fixed. Regions that shift without warning. Pressures that cannot be measured in conventional terms. To a navigator, the warp is not empty. It is active, dynamic, in constant motion. And this perception must be sustained, not briefly, but continuously, guiding a vessel through conditions that do not remain the same from moment to moment. This perception is anchored by the Astronomicon, a psychic beacon sustained by the Emperor and the Golden Throne. Without it, there is no orientation, no constant direction. With it, there is just enough structure to move through instability. Warp travel is not solved before it begins. It is maintained throughout the journey. A navigator does not determine a path once and follow it. They continuously adjust, reinterpreting conditions as they change. A route that was safe moments ago may no longer exist. A direction that appeared stable may collapse into distortion. Movement becomes a process of constant correction, not toward certainty, but away from failure. Time does not behave consistently within the warp. A journey may take longer than expected, or far less. Arrival may not align cleanly with departure, and even successful navigation carries risk. Failure is not partial. It is absolute. A ship may be lost and destroyed, or emerge far from its intended destination. And in situations where loss cannot be avoided, the navigator may be treated as expendable, not because they lack importance, but because the vessel, its cargo, or its mission may outweigh the individual required to guide it. Navigators are not raised within the Imperium they sustain. They are raised within their houses. Among others, like themselves, separated from the populations they serve. Their mutation defines them from birth and shapes the conditions of their existence. They do not perceive reality as others do. Their perception is altered, influenced by a constant awareness of the warp. Even outside of active navigation, they are not fully removed from it. Distance is not simply measured. It is felt as instability, as movement, as pressure beneath perception. Their role is not occasional, it is continuous. A responsibility that does not allow for error, because error is not recoverable. A navigator does not perform a task. They sustain a function, and that function defines the limits of their life. Navigators are mutants, warp-touched, different. The Imperium does not trust such things. Its doctrine is clear. The witch is to be feared, to be controlled or destroyed, and yet they are required. This creates a contradiction that cannot be resolved, only managed. Even the Black Templars, who reject reliance on the warp in principle, still depend on navigators to reach their enemies, to carry their fleets across the stars, to bring war to where it must be delivered. What is condemned in doctrine is still used in practice. To them, a navigator is not accepted as equal, but tolerated as a necessary instrument, a tool through which the Emperor's will can still be carried forward, not trusted, not embraced, but used. Navigators are organized into houses, closed systems of lineage and control. Their mutation preserved through strict regulation. Their numbers limited, their function monopolized. They do not command armies, but they determine where armies can go, where colonies, hives, and Forge World supply can reach. Their influence reaches the highest levels of imperial governance. Navigators cannot be replaced through technology. Their numbers cannot expand through training common men. They cannot be scaled to meet increasing demand save by the use of forbidden technologies. Their existence is limited, controlled through bloodlines that must be preserved carefully. This creates a system without redundancy, a structure dependent on a population that should not be able to expand to match its needs. As the Imperium grows, its reliance deepens, but its capacity does not increase at the same rate. This is not a temporary weakness. It is a permanent condition. A civilization stretched across the galaxy, dependent on individuals, it cannot simply multiply, cannot substitute, and cannot afford to lose in large numbers. Its stability does not come from removing this dependency, but from maintaining it, despite the risks it introduces. The Imperium does not span the galaxy because it has solved the problem of distance. It spans the galaxy because it has learned to endure a problem that cannot be solved. The warp cannot be made stable. It cannot be made predictable. It cannot be reduced to a complete system of knowledge. It can only be navigated. And that navigation does not belong to machines, or to doctrine, or to theory. It belongs to individuals shaped for a purpose they cannot escape, perceiving a path through something that does not offer one, not removing uncertainty, but surviving within it. The Imperium does not move because it understands the space between its stars. It moves because there are still those who can see through it. And if that ability fails, it does not slow. It fragments. In the 41st millennium, every myth hides a mechanism, and every journey across the stars is not a triumph of knowledge, but an act of managed survival.